Well, welcome to another video. This week I'm in Beziers in France, in the south of France. And behind me, just over my shoulder, is the old Roman bridge, which looks back up to the cathedral at the top. So this week I've travelled with my film camera, my panoramic film camera, and a box of Velvia. And I'm going to be shooting the bridge, 3-stage shoot. So we're down here, it's kind of early evening at the moment, because I'm going to shoot in evening light. And then I'm basically going to hang on and shoot until the sun goes down and I get that nice twilight, so the building's all lit up and the bridge hopefully lit up. And then I'm going to return back tomorrow morning and shoot at dawn. Same location, but obviously slightly different feel to each shot. So I'm going to get down there now and get set up and see what we can get. Well, it's only a short walk to this bridge from where we're staying. A 9-minute walk to be exact. It's quite warm, it's about 34 degrees today, so carrying this bag and all this gear is a bit of a task, but yeah, so we're here. I'll spin you around now and show you the bridge. So this is my main vantage point for my film shoot. So I'm on a higher vantage point here, so if you see down below me there, you've got the water. There's also this green algae growing on the top of the water, and I was going to shoot lower down, but it's kind of blocking out the reflections of the cathedral in the water, so I think I'm going to shoot from up here. I've got a nice view from here, got the full reflection of the cathedral in the water, the arches of the bridge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot a couple of frames once the sun drops down, so you can see these arches here, and the sunlight is, the lower sunlight when it drops, it's going to light those arches up and turn like a nice golden colour on this stonework, and again it'll light up the cathedral. And then we're going to wait then until the lights drop, the lights come on the building, and I get this nice balance between ambient and artificial light, where you get this lovely kind of mix of lighting, a nice inky blue sky. And with Fuji Velvia, which I'm shooting tonight, it should bring out some really nice colours as well, not only in the stonework but obviously in the water and the sky as well. So that's the plan. Now, although this is a film video, I couldn't resist this first shot from the other side of the bridge. Try as I may, I couldn't get a 6x17 format composition here. Just couldn't get enough space on the left hand side because of the trees. So I know it's a digital shot, but I had to include it. I just love the light on this and the composition and the reflection in the water. Right, okay, ready for the main show now. The light's dropping pretty quick, so I'm having to not rush, but trying to get everything set up nicely. So I'm back up on this top vantage point now, so probably got about 20 minutes or so before the light gets nice and golden. So I'm going to compose the shot now and get everything in frame. There's a little bit of a breeze come up, which is a bit of a pain, which is kind of creating ripples on the water. But I'm guessing with 50 Velvia film, it's going to be quite a long exposure anyway, so I'm hoping to get a couple of seconds exposure just to blur the ripples out on the water. Right, I'm composed. Very tight crop, to be honest. It's trying to get these reflections in, as well as the bridge and the top of the cathedral in the top of the frame. It's quite a tight crop, but it works. It looks really nice. Got a polarizer on there, and I'm going to do some meter readings now just to see if I need to use either a 6-stop or a 3-stop ND filter just to blur out that water a bit, to get the reflections to show a bit more. Right, I'm metering off a lit part of the bridge, part of the arch there. So I'm getting a 1/4 of a second base read in f/22, which gives me plenty of depth of field from where I'm stood. So 1/4, that's 1 second to allow for the polarizer. So I might do one at 1 second as a base reading. I might then add a 3-stop ND filter as well and try one with that just to get the comparison. My first exposure is going to be 1 second. I'm also going to do a 1/2 second because I'm getting an 1/8 of a second reading off the top of the cathedral. So it gives me, I'm bracketing these slightly because I don't want to miss a shot. Well, I didn't think these shots would see the light of day. My films got lost in the post in the British postal system for about 2 weeks, so I didn't actually think I'd see them again. So I'm pretty pleased with what I shot in Beziers. This is my first shot of the trip, and again, it's a great composition. I love the framing, the light on the arches, pleasing light overall. Composition's a bit tight, but it works. That was a 90mm lens as well, so it was quite wide, but I did manage to keep it all in frame. So yeah, not only have I got the ripple of the water, I've also got people walking across the bottom of the frame. So I'm trying to time this so I don't get their heads in the bottom of the frame. Okay, so that's the first roll. The lights dropped quite a bit now. So I think got about 1 second exposure there. The ripples have gone down a bit, so it should be okay. Well, I think I've lost the evening light now. It's dropped a bit more. It's quite hazy. It was hazy when we got here, and it's kind of lost that kind of punchy colour. So I think I might just do one more frame in daylight now, and then I'm going to wait for the lights to come on the bridge, which the sunset's about 9:15. So it's another 3/4 of an hour, and I normally wait about 20 minutes after the sunset time, and that normally gives you a really good balance of colour then between the ambient and the artificial light. And hopefully we should have everything reflected in the water. Just done a 2-second exposure just to give me a little bit more exposure to blend that ripple out on the water. It's not as pronounced as it was when we started, so hopefully, fingers crossed, that should work. Now this second shot from this location was probably my favourite out of all that I shot here. Slightly less intense light, but still nice light overall. But the best thing about this shot was I managed to retain the reflection of the cathedral in the water. I used a 3-stop ND filter just to extend exposure out a little bit more, drop in the breeze, and it worked out perfectly. So I'm taking the polarizer off now, and I'm ready to wait for the lights to come on. Right, just double checked my focus and everything again, because it's nigh on impossible to focus this when it gets dark. So I'm not going to change my position, so it'll basically be the same composition, but with all the night lights on. That's the plan. Now when I get going for real with this night shoot, I've got to allow for a thing called reciprocity failure, where the film takes on these weird characteristics when it goes beyond a certain exposure time. So I've got a reciprocity timer app, which basically dial your setting in, your base reading. If around 4 seconds you start to get reciprocity failure, and then for instance on 4 seconds you add an extra second basically, so it becomes 5 seconds. Depending on what my exposure value is, it will depend on what I have to allow for with this app. Now, before I get going with a night shot, I probably won't record much video because it's going to be dark for starters, and it's going to be full-on concentration mode. So we'll see how we go. Okay, so we have lights on the bridge. There's a few on the cathedral at the top as well. It's about 10 minutes after sunset, so it's still not quite right. Probably give it another 10 minutes. I want this sky above, you can't really see it in the video, but the sky above needs to go like a inky blue, ideally. Right, we're just about there now. Another 5 minutes, I think. My base reading is 15 seconds. So with my reciprocity app, that actually gives me 26 seconds. That allows for reciprocity failure. So I'm metering every couple of minutes at the moment, just because it's changing constantly. But in a minute, when it gets to that opportune moment, everything balances up, and I should get a nice balance of light then between the actual sky, the ambient light, and the artificial lights. Right, so I'm metering off the lights on the bridge. Again, it's giving me 15 seconds still. I think we're just at that sort of opportune moment now, so I think I'm going to start shooting. I'm having to shield the front of the lens because I've got a lamp that's come on to my left hand side. Now this image was a bit of a nightmare. I had this lamp off to the left hand side of me which I was trying to shield the front of the lens from. Compositionally, again, it's pretty similar to the ones I've shot before, but exposure wise I had to factor in the reciprocity failure, and I had about 3 or 4 results back on this particular image, all of which were pretty dark, so I had quite a job to scan this and get this usable basically. So I'm not entirely happy with it, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Okay, that's a wrap for tonight. It's a bit of a struggle shooting this. It's bad enough for digital cameras, let alone film cameras. So we're going to wrap up. It's beer time now. I think we've earned it tonight. So I shall see you again in the morning. Good morning, back again this morning. So I've come down pretty early this morning, the sun's not come up yet, and you can see from my previous little clip there, got some nice colour up in the clouds there, a few clouds rolling in, which is nice, giving it a little bit of interest. There's no wind this morning either, so we've got nice calm reflections on the water. So I'm going to get set up and try a shot this morning. So I'm at exactly the same vantage point this morning, just a different take this morning. The sun's going to come up over to the right hand side, and what I'm hoping is to get some first light on the top of the cathedral, and then that will then in turn reflect in the water. So that's the plan this morning. So I'm basically going to get set up and wait for that light. So this morning I'm not using a polarizer, just using a graduate filter just over the top of the sky. It's a soft grad, it's just to hold in that sky because it's quite bright in the top portion of the frame. So travelling with film was a little bit of a scary experience, although it didn't need to be honest. Travelled through Bristol Airport with a box of Velvia. So when I got to the airport, did the security check. It was quite busy when we got there, but thankfully I asked the security guy for a hand check on the film, and he was more than happy to do that, so that was good. But yeah, with film going through scanners at the airport, security scanners, they've updated the scanners now in a lot of airports, and it's a little bit of a concern with the film getting fogged. But like I say, if you ask for just a hand check, it's normally fine. So metering wise this morning, because I've got the grad over the sky, which is holding in the sky, I'm just going to meter off a mid-tone, which the bridge itself is quite a good mid-tone. It's very sort of grey stonework. So again, at my base reading is, at the moment I'm getting about half a second f22. No polarizer, so I haven't got to allow anything for that, so it should be fairly straightforward this morning. So just give it a few more minutes and wait for this light to hit the top of the cathedral. What a great morning. This was more than I'd asked for. Got some nice cloud interest in the sky, which was picking up the early dawn light. This was pre-sunrise. Again, composition wise pretty similar, It's a bit annoying to have that little strip of concrete path in the left hand side, but I had to include that to get this composition and retain the full reflection. But overall, really pleased with this, and I love the stillness of the shot and the reflection. Right, we've got some light now. Just taking another meter reading. So I've added a polarizer as well. So my base reading is now 1/8 of a second. So that gives me a 1/2 a second to allow for the polarizer. And we should be good to go. I'm almost in two minds with this shot. It's kind of a picture of two halves. You've got this nice, lovely, gorgeous golden light on the left-hand side, and yet the right-hand side of the shot suffers from a bit of, well, lack of colour and light. But I thought I'd include this. Let me know what you think. I'm not too sure on this one. Well, that's me done for this location. We're going to go off and explore around the town and look for a second location, do a bit of scouting this afternoon. Well, I'm so thankful these films turned up in the end. I was getting pretty nervous and did think that I wouldn't see them again. This was the main location that I wanted to shoot on this trip. So I've managed to get as many different frames as I could, different lights, different times of day. And it's a nice collection. I'm really pleased with them. I've got favourites. Probably the second shot in on the video is probably my favourite shot. I'll be interested to know what you think, which are your favourites. Please let me know. So I shall wrap up the video now, and hopefully I'll see you next week, where I'll be shooting some water fountains in Beziers, my second video from this location.